It was a late October in Michigan, the kind of night where the cold crawled into your skin and stayed there. The small town on the edge of the woods was almost asleep, every window dark, every street silent. But in the middle of that silence stood an abandoned boarding house, its paint peeled, its windows shattered, and its front door permanently stained a deep, unnatural red. People called it the Red Door House. The stories about it stretched back nearly a century. Children who wandered in and never came out. Drifters who used it for shelter and were found days later torn apart. Rumors of strange games played inside that ended in death. No one from the town went near it anymore. But 5 college students, drunk on adrenaline and overconfident in their own bravado, thought it was the perfect place for a Halloween challenge. They wanted to spend 24 hours inside, recording everything for their YouTube channel. It was supposed to be entertainment, just another prank, another dare. They didn't believe the stories. They thought they'd come out laughing. They had no idea what waited for them. Noah, Kathy, Dean, Rachel, and Michael were all buzzing with nervous excitement as they parked their beat-up SUV at the edge of the gravel road. The house loomed above them, huge and oppressive against the cloudy sky. Its upper windows looked like dark, empty eyes. The front door seemed to bleed into the steps. Rachel shivered and pulled her hoodie tighter, whispering, "This place looks like it eats people." Dean laughed and slapped her on the back, telling her it was all part of the fun. Michael adjusted his camera, making sure the red light was on. "This is going to blow up," he said confidently. 1 million views, easy. We'll be legends after this." Kathy forced a grin, though her stomach twisted with unease. Noah, the quietest of them, stared at the house for a long time before saying softly, "I don't think this is a good idea." But nobody listened. They were already walking to war the moment Dean pushed the door open. A wave of rot and copper hit them. The air was thick, almost syrupy, carrying a stench of dried blood and decay. Their shoes crunched over something brittle on the floor. When Rachel pointed her flashlight down, they all froze. Human teeth, dozens of them, scattered like someone had dropped a jar. Michael zoomed his camera in, whispering, "Holy shit, that looks real." Dean picked one up, laughed nervously, and tossed it aside. Fake, has to be fake. But as it clinked against the wall, Noah saw it up close. There was a dark root still attached. It wasn't fake at all. They moved deeper inside. The wallpaper was peeled away, black mold spreading like veins. The ceiling groaned with every step. On the far wall of the hallway, something dripped. Rachel shined her light, and her throat tightened. Blood, thick and fresh, was running down the wallpaper. She backed up quickly, whispering, "This can't be happening." But before anyone could say anything more, they entered a large hall. In the center of the dusty floor sat an old wooden game board. It was carved from dark oak, with strange symbols scratched deep into the surface. The dice were heavy, stained as though they'd been soaked in something long ago and carved into. The board, in jagged, uneven letters, were the words, "Play or bleed." Kathy immediately shook her head. "No, hell no. We're not touching that. Come on, it's just some creepy old prop. Probably left here by other idiots like us." Before anyone could stop him, he grabbed the dice and tossed them across the board. They clattered loudly and came to a stop. The number 2 faced upward. Instantly, the front door behind them slammed shut, the echo booming through the halls. The sound of iron grinding echoed, and every window they had passed moments ago now had thick steel bars stretching across them. The house had sealed them inside. Then the walls shifted. From the cracks in the wood, sharp metal spikes shot outward. Before Dean could even scream, 3 of them pierced his chest, one driving straight through his stomach, another spearing his throat. Blood gushed from his mouth as his eyes bulged wide. The spikes lifted him off the ground, his body jerking violently, his arms thrashing as his blood splattered across the others' faces. Rachel screamed. Noah grabbed Kathy and pulled her back, and Michael filmed in frozen shock. Dean's body was torn apart slowly as the spikes twisted, ripping muscle, splitting bone. His organs slid down the spikes like wet fruit. His head lolled to the side, eyes glassy and lifeless, before the wall creaked and retracted, dragging what was left of him inside the wood. His blood remained, dripping down, painting the floor in a thick crimson pool. Nobody could breathe. Nobody could think. Rachel clutched her face, sobbing hysterically. "Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!" Kathy tried to pull her back toward the hallway, but the game board shifted, the dice rolling back to the center on their own. A voice, low and guttural, hissed from the wood. Next, Rachel was shaking uncontrollably, her eyes darting between the board and the blood still dripping down the wall. "We can't do this," she whispered. "We can't." But the dice lifted into the air and landed in front of her. Trembling, she touched them, and, as if controlled by something else, her hand tossed them across the board. They landed on 4. A tall mirror appeared on the far side of the hall, old and cracked. In its reflection, Rachel saw herself, but not quite. The version of her in the mirror smiled with a wide, eerie grin. Slowly, the reflection raised its hand and pressed against the glass. Rachel stumbled back, shaking her head. No, no, but her reflection's hand broke through the glass with a shriek of shattering, and its clawed fingers gripped her face. With one swift pull, the reflection dragged half her body forward and ripped her face off in a single movement. Skin tore away from bone with a sickening sound. Her screams were muffled as blood sprayed violently. Her jawbone cracked. Her skull split open as her reflection stuffed the flesh into its own mouth and smiled wider. Rachel's body collapsed, faceless, twitching. Her blood spread in a wide circle around her, warm and steaming against the cold floor. In the mirror, her reflection stood grinning, chewing slowly, eyes locked on the others. Kathy vomited, her entire body trembling. Noah dragged her back against the wall, his breath shallow. Michael finally snapped out of his shock and screamed at the board. "We're not playing this fucking game." He kicked at it, but the board didn't budge. The dice rolled back to the center once more. Kathy was next. She begged, sobbing, "Please, no, please." But her hands moved as if strings were tied to them, tossing the dice. A 1. The floor beneath her cracked open instantly, and with a shriek, she fell. Dozens of jagged spikes, iron nails jutting upward, pierced through her body at once. The sound of tearing flesh echoed as her body convulsed. One nail speared her eye, another her stomach. Blood poured from her mouth in thick streams. She tried to scream, but only gurgled as more blood bubbled up. Her body shook violently until finally, going still, impaled like a broken doll. Blood dripped from her body in a steady rhythm, pooling beneath her dot. Noah clutched his hair, rocking in horror, his teeth chattering. Michael kept filming, his camera shaking violently. He couldn't stop. His eyes were wide, terrified, but he couldn't let go of the camera. The dice rolled back again. Michael's turn. He didn't even touch them. They flew into the air themselves and clattered across the board. 5. The ground split open. Black, rotting arms reached up, dozens of them, their hands long and skeletal. They grabbed Michael, dragging him down. He screamed, dropping the camera, but it continued recording from the floor, capturing every detail. The arms pulled at his jaw, forcing it wide until the corners of his mouth tore. His scream turned into a choking gurgle as his mouth split too. His ears, blood spraying across his shirt. They clawed his chest, ripping ribs free, pulling his heart out in a wet explosion. They held it up, beating weakly before slamming it against the wall. where it stuck and continued pulsing. Michael's body was shredded into pieces, bones snapping, flesh flung across the room. His blood painted the ceiling in long streaks as the arms finally dragged what was left of him into the darkness below. His camera caught the last of it before going dark. Noah was alone now. The dice rolled slowly across the board. 6. His hands shook violently. He didn't want to play. He didn't want to breathe. He didn't want to exist in that house anymore. But the board decided. A chair appeared in the center of the room, old leather straps dangling from its arms. Noah's feet moved against his will. He sat. The straps snapped tight, locking him in place. His skin started to blister, popping open as steam rose from his body. His veins bulged, bursting one by one, spraying blood across the chair. His eyes turned red, then black, until they melted down his cheeks. He screamed, a sound more animal than human, as his flesh sloughed away, peeling off in strips. His body trembled violently until the skin was gone, muscle exposed, blood cascading down. Then, slowly, the muscle burned away, leaving only bone, and still he screamed. His voice echoed through the house, even after his jaw fell loose. The walls shook as letters carved themselves into the wood, written in blood that bubbled and dripped. Welcome, new guardian. Noah's skeleton stiffened, then twisted. His bones cracked, reforming into the shape of a mannequin seated forever in the chair. Head turned toward the board, waiting for the next players. His empty sockets stared forward, still glowing faintly red. The red doorhouse fell silent again. The board cleaned itself, the dice resting in the center, ready. The blood seeped into the floorboards, vanishing as if nothing had ever happened. Only the faintest echo of screams lingered in the air. Outside, the SUV sat in the gravel, silent, its doors wide open. The town would wonder where the 5 students went, but no one would ever come looking inside. Not here, not in the red door house, because everyone knew the truth. Once you entered, you played. Once you played, you bled. And once you bled, you never left.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.